Welcome back to the discussion of Book 1 of Paradise Lost by John Milton. So, in the previous class, we described how Satan and the fallen angels, after being expelled from heaven, were lying on the fiery river in hell. And Satan wakes up, looks around, and sees what a horrible place he has ended up in, and talks to his second in command, Beelzebub. uh, Initially he tries to reassure Beelzebub. Then Beelzebub asks him some questions like, why did God spare us? Why did God not destroy us? Does God want to make us his slaves? Does God want to make us do his commands? Obey his commands, all these things. But Satan comforts him by saying, we may be defeated, but we will not be his slaves. We will never do what God wants us to do. We will always do the exact opposite of what God wants. If God wants to create good out of evil, we will always try to create evil out of good. And that kind of a resolution he gives to Beelzebub. Then he says, let us not lie in this fiery river anymore. Let us get up, and there is a kind of dark, desolate plain out there. Let us retire there, and then let us have a council meeting to plan how to take things forward. Thus, Satan, talking to his nearest mate, with head uplift above the wave and eyes that sparkling blazed, his other parts beside, prone on the flood, extended long and large, lay floating many a rood, in bulk as huge as whom the fables name of monstrous size, Titanian or earth-born, that warred on Jove, Briareos or Typhon, whom the den by ancient Tarsus held, or that sea beast Leviathan, which God of all his works created hugest that swim the ocean stream. Him, haply slumbering on the Norway foam, the pilot of some small night-foundered skiff, deeming some island, oft as seamen tell, with fixed anchor in his scaly rind, moors by his side under the lee, while night invests the sea and wished morn delays. So stretched out huge in length, the arch-fiend lay, chained on the burning lake. Nor ever thence has had risen or heaved his head, but that the will and high permission of all ruling heaven left him at large to his own dark designs, that with reiterated crimes he might heap on himself damnation, while he sought evil to others, and enraged might see how all his malice served but to bring forth infinite goodness, grace, and mercy shown on man by him seduced, but on himself treble confusion, wrath, and vengeance poured. Okay, so this is a description of Satan. Thus, Satan talking to his nearest mate. So, Satan was talking to his nearest mate, his closest friend, with head uplift above the wave. So, he's still lying in the water, he's still lying in the fiery river, but his head is lifted up. His head is not in the river, but the rest of him is still prone on the flood, prone on the fiery river, with head uplift above the wave and eyes that sparkling blazed. So his eyes are blazing, almost as if his eyes are balls of fire. They are sparkling, they are blazing, they are glowing. His other parts besides prone on the flood. So apart from his uplifted head and his blazing eyes, the rest of his body, all his other parts, all his other limbs are still prone, outstretched on the flood, extended long and large. So he is an angel, he is huge. And now Milton is trying to describe how long and large he is, how tall and how large Satan is. Extended long and large, lay floating many a rood. So just like Satan, there are many such forms floating around. Those are all the other different fallen angels, and they look like many a rood. A rood is, here it just means a rod, a stick, like a huge stick, like a huge rod floating on the fiery river, like many such rods. All the fallen angels are floating, and Satan himself looks like that. His body is extended on the floating river, floating on the river. And now from here onwards, from this line onwards, in bulk as huge എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് മുതൽ until line 210, we have what is called an epic simile or a Homeric simile. So we have a very long simile. This is an example of an epic simile or a Homeric simile. These are long and sustained similes. So simile is usually when you compare one thing to another thing. So there is a main thing which you are comparing here. In the main thing that is being compared is Satan's body. The secondary subject is that which it is being compared to. That is the simile here. So first he said it is like a stick, it is like a rod, but now a longer simile comes. What is that subject? So that secondary subject, usually in a simile, the secondary subject is mentioned in one word or a phrase, like a rose, like a rod, etc. These are just very brief similes. But in an epic simile, the secondary subject is elaborated far beyond its points of close parallel to the primary subject. So the primary subject is Satan's body. അത് എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ചെയ്യാൻ ആവശ്യത്തിലും ഒരുപാട് കൂടുതൽ ഇലാബറേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് സെക്കൻഡ് സബ്ജക്റ്റിനെ പറയാം. അങ്ങനെ പറയുന്നതിന് സിമിലീസിനാണ് നമ്മൾ എപ്പിക് സിമിലി എന്ന് പറയാം. ദേ ആർ ഓൾസോ കോൾഡ് ഹോമeric similes because they were used in classical Greek epic poetry by writers like Homer. So Homer who wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey, the Greek epics, was the master of such similes. And other writers like Virgil, Milton, etc., other writers who wrote epics also used this kind of smiling. So they can run up to several lines. And in this particular case, in Book 1 of Paradise Lost, we have an example of such a simile. So Satan lay floating in bulk as huge as whom the fables name of monstrous size. There are certain fables. So now he is drawing on Greek and Roman mythology. So by fables here, he is just referring to the stories, the myths. In the myths, there are some creatures who are supposed to be of monstrous size, who are supposed to be very huge. And those creatures or those beings are called Titanian or earthborn. That means the Greek mythical characters called Titans, who are supposed to be the Titans are supposed to be the children of heaven and earth. Heaven also called Uranus and earth also called Gaia. That is why they are also called earthborn. And they had a long war with the king of the Greek gods, Zeus, also known in Roman mythology as Jove. So Titanian or earthborn that warred on Jove. The opponents of Jove, the Titans, were supposed to be earthborn. Their mother was supposed to be Gaia or the earth, and their father was Uranus or the heavens, and they were of monstrous size. Briareos or Typhon. These are some of the names of the great Titans, whom the den by ancient Tarsus held. So Tarsus is supposed to be a mythical place in Greek mythology. It is also the name of a place in Turkey, what is today Turkey. But he's just referring to Greek mythology here. Apparently that is the place where these Titans lived. So like a Titan who is very tall and very monstrously huge, that is one comparison. Or that sea beast Leviathan. Leviathan is the name of a sea monster, again a mythical sea monster, which God of all his works created hugest. Supposedly this is the hugest creature that God has created, that swim the ocean stream. And the sea monster Leviathan apparently swims in the oceans. Him haply slumbering on the Norway foam, the pilot of some small night-foundered skiff, deeming some island oft as seamen tell, with fixed anchor in his scaly rind, moors by his side under the lee, while night invests the sea and wished morn delays. So this is a story about Leviathan, the story told by seamen. People who go into the sea tell this story that him, that is Leviathan, sometimes slumbers. He sleeps on the Norway foam. He sleeps in the sea near Norway. And the pilot of some small night-foundered skiff. Skiff here means a boat or a ship. So some ship that has been lost in the night, the pilot or the captain of that ship has been unable to find land, and then suddenly coming across the sleeping monster in the night, he has thought, the captain thinks that this is actually land because the sea monster is so huge. It has scales, scaly rind, it is the scaly skin. അതൊക്കെ കണ്ടിട്ട് അതൊരു ലാൻഡ് ആണ്, ഏതോ ഒരു ഐലൻഡ് കണ്ടുപിടിച്ചതാണ് എന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചിട്ട്, ഡീമിങ് ഇറ്റ് സം ഐലൻഡ്, ഓഫൺ such a pilot would have fixed anchor in his scaly rind. ഈ സീ മോൺസ്റ്ററിന്റെ സ്കിന്നിൽ, സ്കെയിലി സ്കിന്നിൽ ആങ്കർ കുത്തിവെച്ചിട്ട് moors by his side under the lee, and then the captain would have tried to find port in that island, but actually it is not an island. It is the sea monster's body, and because of that he is pulled under the lee, he is pulled under the sea. And obviously by trying to moor himself near the sea monster, he would have been pulled under and drowned by the sea monster, while night invests the sea and wished morn delays. So this happens at night because it is dark and the captain is lost. The ship is lost and the captain cannot understand whether it is actually an island or the sea monster. And he wishes for morn. He hopes morning comes soon, but morning is delayed. So stretched out huge in length, the archfiend lay chained on the burning lake. And so that is how, just like the sea monster stretches out in the Norway Sea, or like the body, the monstrously huge body of those titans who in Greek mythology fought against Zeus or Jove, just like that, the archfiend, that is the king of all the demons, that is Satan, lay chained on the burning lake. He is also in chains now, and he is lying on the burning lake like the Leviathan, or like the titans. Nor ever thence has risen or heaved his head. So iduvare ulladana epic simile. Okay, the comparison of Satan to, on the one hand, the titans, and on the other hand, the sea beast Leviathan. And so that is how he lay in the burning lake. Nor ever thence had risen or heaved his head, but at the will and high permission of all ruling heaven, left him at large to his own dark designs. He did not raise his head, he did not rise from that place without the mercy of heaven. The very fact that Satan was able to get up from that lake was due to the mercy of God, because God did not kill him and rather left him to pursue his own dark design. So Satan was also given a chance, an opportunity by God. He had free will, and God did not kill him, but rather left him alone, let him pursue his own designs, even if they are dark designs. Why did God do that? So that with reiterated crimes, he might heap on himself damnation while he sought evil to others. That if again, after being punished, he still continued to do evil to others, then he would damn himself even more. So he is already damned for fighting against God, but he has not been killed. God has left him alone in his mercy. This Milton is telling us. The angels think that they were left alone by God, either because God is bored of them or afraid of them, or God wants to make them slaves or something. But Milton is saying, no, that is not what happened. God left them alone because God wants Satan to make his own choices. So he made one bad choice, fighting against God. For that, he's damned to hell. If he chooses to be good, maybe he can regain God's favor. But Satan is not even thinking about that. He only is going deeper and deeper into damnation because he wants to heap evil on others. And by doing that, he will only heap damnation on himself with his reiterated crimes, with his repeated crimes. And enraged might see how all his malice served but to bring forth infinite goodness, grace, and mercy shown on man by him seduced. And he tried to seduce man. He tried to bring evil to man, but he will be very upset to see that all his malice, all his evil nature only serve to bring man back into God's grace and mercy. So God will always give infinite goodness, grace, and mercy to man. God will show mercy to man even though man has been seduced by Satan. So, how all his malice served but to bring forth infinite goodness, grace, and mercy shown on man by him seduced, but on himself treble confusion, wrath, and vengeance poured. But when he is being evil to human beings, it will not affect human beings. Even if human beings are completely seduced by Satan, they will still ultimately be forgiven by God. But Satan himself, he can never forgive himself. He can never get out of this pit of hell. And therefore, with every act, with every spiteful or a malicious act against human beings, Satan is just damning himself. He will bring forth treble. Treble is an archaic way of saying triple. Single, double, triple. Treble confusion, wrath, and vengeance. So all this confusion, wrath, and vengeance that he feels now will just multiply with every evil deed that Satan does. Forthwith upright he rears from off the pool his mighty stature. And then, after saying all this to Beelzebub, the rest of it was Milton's, the author's commentary on that. And now we are coming back to the action. Forthwith, immediately, he rears himself upright. He rears his mighty stature, his mighty body upright from the pool of flames. On each hand, the flames driven backward slope their pointing spires and rolled in billows leave in the midst a horrid veil. So when he rises up from the fiery river, the flames, just like if you rise up from a river, water will flow off from your body. Like that, flames are flowing off his body from both hands. Then, with expanded wings, he steers his flight aloft, incumbent on the dusky air that felt unusual weight, till on dry land he lights. If it were land that ever burned with solid, as the lake with liquid fire, then rising from there, he expands his wings. He raises his wings and then he flies up, aloft, up into the air, incumbent on the dusky air. He is pressing on the air. The air in hell can feel the weight of Satan's body as he flies, and he alights. He lands on dry land. From the fiery river, he moves to dry land. But again, Milton is qualifying that, if you can call it land. Because can you call something land which burns with solid fire as the lake burns with liquid fire? So everything in hell is fiery. There is no real land, there is no real water there. The river is a river of fire. Similarly, the land the land on which Satan lands is also, the ground on which Satan steps is also like solid fire. So like the lake is liquid fire, the land is solid fire. And such appeared in hue as when the force of subterranean wind transports a hill torn from Pelarus, or the shattered side of thundering Etna, whose combustible and fueled entrails, thence conceiving fire, sublimed with mineral fury, aid the winds, and leave a singed bottom, all involved with stench and smoke. Such resting found the soul of unblessed feet. So again, now this is a slightly long simile. It is a shorter epic simile where the land on which Satan lands, the ground on which Satan lands, the resting place for unblessed feet, damned feet. Now, Satan's feet are no longer blessed because he has lost the protection of God. So, such feet can only land on damned land. And what kind of land is it? The kind of land which appeared, the color, it appeared just like the hue, the color of that land appeared just like as when the force of subterranean wind transports a hill torn from Pelarus, or the shattered side of thundering Etna. Etna or Mount Etna is the name of a volcano in Sicily, in Italy. And Pelorus is the name of that area. It's a peninsula in Sicily where this Mount Etna is situated. So thundering Etna, when the volcano is active, it is making a thundering sound. And it is as if it is one side of that volcano shatters because the lava is bursting forth, and a subterranean underground, some kind of a force, some kind of a wind comes from underground. This is basically the lava that is spilling out of the mountain, Mount Etna. And the fuel, FUEL, fuel എന്ന് പറയുന്നതിന്റെ പഴയ ഫോമാണ് FEWEL എന്നുള്ളത്, the fueled entrails. So the wind that comes from under, subterranean wind that comes from under Mount Etna fuels entrails or entrails. Entrails എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ internal organs ആണ്, but here it means the lava that is spilling out of the mountain, whose combustible and fueled entrails then is conceiving fire, sublimed with mineral fury, aid the winds. So this is just a description of how the lava comes out. It is a kind of liquid fire, and when it comes out with the friction from the winds, the entire land becomes filled with lava, and then there is a singed, there is a burnt kind of feeling there, and leave a singed bottom, all involved with stench and smoke. So there is a disgusting smell of the lava, and there is a lot of smoke because it is extremely hot. That is the kind of land where Satan and Beelzebub now retire. ഒരു വോൾക്കേനോയിൽ നിന്ന്, മൗണ്ട് എറ്റ്ന പോലുള്ള വോൾക്കേനോയിൽ നിന്ന് സ്പിൽ ഔട്ട് ചെയ്ത ലാവ വന്ന് ആ സ്ഥലത്ത് മുഴുവൻ ലാവ ഒലിച്ച് അതിന്റെ ആ ചൂടും അതിന്റെ സ്മോക്കും അതിന്റെ ഒരു ഹൊറിബിൾ സ്മെല്ലും എല്ലാം കൂടി ചേർന്ന അതുപോലത്തെ ഒരു സ്ഥലത്താണ് അവരിവിടെ ഇപ്പൊ നിൽക്കുന്നത്. So it is almost like the volcanic lava. That is the kind of place they are standing now. Him followed his next mate, both glorying to have escaped the Stygian flood as gods, and by their own recovered strength, not by the sufferance of supernal power. So he was followed by his next mate, by his near friend, his close friend, that is Beelzebub, and both of them, when they escaped from the burning river onto this lava-like plain, they both gloried. They felt that they were able to escape from the Stygian flood. Stygian refers to, it is an adjective which means related to the river Styx, Styx. Styx is supposed to be a river in classical Greek mythology. It is a river in hell. It is supposed to be a fiery river in hell. So here the fiery river in hell എന്നുള്ള അർത്ഥത്തിലാണ് stygian ഇവിടെ ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നത്. Both Satan and Beelzebub, like the other angels, had been lying in the fiery river in the Stygian flood, and they escaped from that and moved to the lava, and they thought it was due to their own capabilities. They did not realize, they thought by their own recovered strength, because they have recovered their strength, they are now like gods. They have recovered their angelic powers, and they thought it was out of their own capabilities. They did not realize that it was only by the sufferance of supernal power, only by the mercy of God's superior power, God's supreme power. So the very fact that now they are getting out of the fiery lake to move to the fiery plains to discuss how to take revenge against God. But they don't realize that even their very ability to get up from the lake and move towards land is a gift given to them by the mercy of God's supreme power. So that is what happens in this particular stanza.